Hi, this is Congressman Tom Cole, the 4th District of Oklahoma, and it's been another busy week in Congress. As many of you know, I serve on the Appropriations Committee. We fund the government with 12 separate appropriations bills. We marked up, as the phrase is used, 3 of those bills this week. That simply means they went to the full committee and amendments were offered and they were passed out of committee and will later be considered on the floor. Now, the principal bill we marked up is the so-called Labor, Health and Education bill, and Labor, Health and Human Services and Education bill. And that bill I play a pretty major role in because I'm the top Republican. We got a lot of good things in the bill, but frankly, we're spending more money than we have, and that raised a lot of questions. And second, we left out some things we should have put in there. One of them was an amendment I offered. It's called the Born Alive Amendment. It simply means that you would legally be obligated to provide a child who survived an abortion, was born alive, exactly the same medical care from the moment that child was born that you'd provide any other child. Strangely enough, we don't have laws that force that, and we actually have a couple of states that specifically say you don't have to do that, and that's just a terrible thing in my opinion. I don't care if you're pro-choice or pro-life. I think surely we can all agree that any child that comes into the world the moment they're born deserves the very best medical care that we can provide them. So that's going to continue to be a major issue going forward. Another defect in these bills is that we haven't got an agreement with the Senate or the administration yet as to exactly how much we can spend. So it looks to me like we're spending more money than we should, and certainly more money than we did last year. And that's pretty troubling when we have deficits the size we have. So at the end of the day, while I supported many of the items in the bill and will continue to support them as we go forward, they're simply too expensive. The other 2 bills that we marked up were the Veterans and Military Construction Bill. That's important, obviously. Need to make sure our veterans get the best care that they can. A lot of support for that. In the end, that bill will pass. But we tried to get some additional money in there for border security. Obviously, we've got a crisis on our southern border. Our Democratic friends weren't willing to do that, and for that reason, no Republican voted for that bill. Now, in the Senate, I think we'll make more progress in this area and then hopefully can come to a compromise. The last bill is a very minor one. It's called the Legislative Branch Bill. It funds literally the House of Representatives and the Senate. And that's another one. We're spending too much money. We ought to be setting the example in an era of deficits. Instead, there was a very generous increase in the funding for every member office. And we tried to strip that out. Democrats, again, decided that they wanted to provide that extra money, and we just think that's a mistake. Again, somebody's got to set an example. It ought to begin with Congress before any place else. We had a major bill on the floor today, a disaster bill. I normally support those bills. I did not today because of some of the things that were left out. We asked for $3 billion to deal with the unaccompanied minors at the border. We're literally out of money. You can't complain about these children not being well cared for and then refuse to vote money for them. That's exactly what the Democrats did. I think they're exacerbating the crisis unnecessarily. And I actually met with the Secretary of Health and Human Services earlier this week who pleaded for the extra money. He said, look, we are about out of funds, and I've still got 13,000 kids in the custody of the Department of Health and Human Services that he has to house, feed, educate, provide health care for by law. So Congress needs to give him those sorts of advantages. And let me end on a note that we all can agree on. Democrat, Republican, or Independent, it's Mother's Day this weekend. And all of us have moms, and all of us are so grateful for the mothers that we have who brought us into the world, who nurtured us, who provided for us, who set the example in our lives that all of us try to live up to and none of us ever quite do. No work is more important than the work of being a mother. And so to all of you that are mothers, we thank you and we appreciate so much what you do. And to all of us who've benefited from moms, please take a moment and reflect on that. Make that telephone call, get those flowers there. Tell your mother while you've got her, and sadly I no longer have mine, how much you love her, how much you appreciate her, and what she's meant in your life to you. So on that, we look forward to visiting with you next week.